Hi there. Welcome back to Curious Collection. I'm Will with my lovely wife, Cinnamon. She has a bit of issue with her voice today and a little bit of lung irritation. So I'll be doing all the talking. She's going to be the, teller to my pen. So she'll just be a silent, adorable boss babe or something. So, basically today it's all going to be me. So I came up with some ideas. I got some notes here in front of me. But I feel like yesterday there was an announcement. There was a big personality in the reselling world that announced that they are going to be going part-time. They're going to be going back to their regular career or something along those lines. And it sounds like there's maybe a little bit of a disillusionment about the expectation of what reselling was going to be doing for them. And I think that's real. I think that a lot of us that were watching reselling content in 2018, 2019, even into 2020 was selling a dream of Lambos, mansions, gated communities. And there's still some content out there like that people are over promising the reality of reselling. And, I think for a lot of us, we would be happy to be average. But I am also aware of Dave Ramsey. He likes the term average is broke. So I want you to understand kind of what numbers I'm looking at, what I'm seeing, and actually talk about like the eBay winter update as well. So there was a 10-cent increase on the processing fee, went from 30 cents per transaction to 40 cents per transaction. And I saw a reseller in their comments, somebody had said, well, this is it. This is the final straw. I'm out. I'm out because of this 10-cent per transaction fee. And that person, who should be someone that's respectable in the community and someone you should be able to look up to, derided the person who made the comment because that's such small thinking. It's only a dime. The reality is, in our business, we did 5,000 transactions last year. 5,000 transactions, approximately $100,000 in total sales. When you take out all of the shipping, eBay fees, processing fees, all of the packaging and inventory, our household income was just shy of $50,000. Now, a 10-cent increase means a $500 a year fee that is now added to our annual sales. That $500, yes, the $500 is tax deductible, but you know what? I'd rather have $500 in profit than $500 going to eBay. So that $500 is 1% of our annual household income. That is a negative. We lost 1% of our household earnings because that comes straight out of your profit line. It's not coming from some fantasy place. I see people say, well, I'm just going to add it on to my shipping fees. That's not real, because you're going to lose more than 1% if you're increasing your costs. It's inevitable. No one else is doing this. You're the only one doing it. Your prices are going up. Everyone else's is going down. So I want you to consider a few things. The median American household income. So that's all households, single parents, dual income. You've got, people with children, people without children. The average median household income in the U.S. is $72,000. Last year, I told you, both of us working in reselling, managed to make $50,000. That's 50% less, or we would have to make 50% more to be average. The average American car payment for a new car is $726. The average used car payment is $533. According to financial analysts, and I am just going to use their numbers of what a healthy budget looks like, your transportation costs should be no more than 10% of your monthly income or annual income. 10% towards transportation. For a reseller, you know what? For the person that's making $72,000 a year, the $726 car brings you in at 10% that doesn't account for insurance, that doesn't account for fuel, repairs, anything like that. So that's dumb. You're already over where you should be to have a healthy budget. But I understand people get carried away on those new cars, and that's not necessarily the average person buying a new car. It's the average new car price. The used car is $533 on our budget. That's $533 is outside of our $50,000 annual income budget. That it exceeds more than 10% of what we could afford to have. We don't have payments on our cars because you cannot have an average car with payments. So one of the ideas that we see is that you're going to borrow your way into success. It is a underlying cultural theme. Robert Kiyosaki talks about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and how Rich Dad borrowed everything in his life and never paid it back, apparently. Whereas his poor dad didn't borrow money and, lived a comfortable middle-class life. And he thought he was poor because they lived within their means. The idea that you're going to borrow your way into success, maybe that worked when interest rates were 2%. It's not going to work when you're paying 10% on a car. Maybe if you were borrowing 2% on a rental property, that could work. That's no longer the case. The average American house, the house payment is $1,775. You would need to, and so again, there are percentages allocated to what a healthy budget looks like and a healthy household income. So for a $1,775 house payment, you would need to make in your not in your take home, but in your gross income, $7,100 a month or $85,000 a year. So you need to have an above average income. Your housing should not account for more than 25% of your gross household income, not your gross business sales, your gross household income. Rent. The average American rent is $1,372. That means that you would have to gross $5,488 a month or $65,000 a year to be able to afford the average American rent. Now, yes, there are people that live in very high-end communities, on the coasts, in big cities, in luxurious neighborhoods, gated communities. It's all compiled together. But the reality is, making any amount of money, your household housing cost should not exceed 25% of your income. Now, I see posted online often that people complain because their landlord requires them to make 3 times the rent in a month. Because the landlord knows if you don't make that much, you're not going to pay the rent. So, we have to get to a point where we need to start looking at things through a lens that is representative of what reality is. The reality is that, we were all told we were going to be millionaires if we just started reselling on eBay and Amazon. The reality is you're going to make less than the average American worker. You will make more working in private industry than you will being your own eBay reselling boss. As an example, last week Tech and Sports put out a video, and he was talking about how if you are able to make $100,000 a year in total sales and make $50,000 in profit on that, then you're killing it. You have achieved the reselling dream at $50,000 income. For me, $50,000 in income equates to like $22 an hour. Now, yes, in some parts of the country, that is a good pay. But auto mechanics make more than $22 an hour. Plumbers make more than $22 an hour. Electricians make more than $22 an hour. Carpenters make more than $22 an hour. Brick masons make more than $22 an hour. Bankers make more than $22 an hour. So there's a lot of different professions out there. Now, I understand if this is your passion, this is our passion. We're not talking about giving this up. We're talking about living our lives in reality with a clear understanding of what that means. So, eBay raises our, expenses by 1%. That means that we're either increasing our total sales to cover the cost of that 1%. We can't increase the price. So we have to increase our sales, or we have to cut back on our lifestyle. So for that, what does that look like? Well, that means that for us, our household income, our gross is $4,000. We have to pay taxes out of that. We have to pay our insurance.
$4,000 per month.
$4,000 per month, yes, or $48,000 a year. So, out of that $4,000, you have to pay your taxes. You have to pay your utilities. You have to pay your phone, your cable, all of your, insurances. So all of these things compile, all of these things add up. You cannot have debt if you are working in this industry. One of the big things that I look at is, Q4, we were doing $12,000 a month in sales. Last year, June, we did $6,000 a month in sales. Now that's total sales. That means our household income would have been less than $3,000 a month in June, and might have been $6,000 for the month of December. So there's too much risk. There's too much to be giving money away to a bank, and it's too much to have to pay a landlord, So yes, we own our home, and it's a modest home. It's not a big home. It's not an expensive neighborhood. We own our vehicles, but they are modest vehicles. They are paid for with cash, used cars, 15, 20 years old. That's what the reality of reselling looks like. And when I see people that are leaving the industry, it's not necessarily because they're not getting the sales. It's not because they're not making money. It's because they're recognizing I can do a lot better doing something else. And that's why we talk about you have to have a passion and a love and a purpose, because if you work in healthcare and your passion is people and helping them, reselling might not be your passion. If you love the sale and you love the hunt and you love the spare time with your family, then this is possibly the right thing to do. So it really is a challenge and a struggle for a lot of us to go, what's worth it is that, we talk about now, we don't take luxury vacations anymore. January last year, we were very fortunate, very blessed that we had booked a cruise, and we took a 10-day international cruise, 6 different countries. It was amazing. That's not something we can do on reseller income. It is far beyond our reality at this point. Do we think we'd ever get there in reselling? I don't know. Like I said, we did 5,000 transactions last year. Fees continue to go up. Sourcing continues to be a challenge. When we find items that are a good deal, it's typically because there's damage or some other type of defect. It is a really tough market right now. There's a lot of competition out there for sellers on both ends, and the shipping companies and the reselling platforms, they can't wait to get their hands on that money. They know that there's money being transferred, and they want to take as much of it as possible. So, our advice to ourselves and to anyone that wants to listen is, make sure that you've got a household budget. Make sure that your business is on a budget. Try to keep those things in line and plan for the future. So it's not just making sure that the bills are covered this month. It's feeding that emergency fund so that next month, when the sales are down or when the expenses are up, you can cover it. It is certainly a challenge. Obviously we want the best for everyone out there in the industry, and we don't like to see people falling out of this. And I apologize. I'm hoping I'm not putting words into people's mouths, and I don't want to, really talk about people behind their back. I don't think that's cool. But these are very public figures that have talked about these things recently. So I do want to kind of address that, and that it's real. It's hard to live on a reselling income. It doesn't matter how good you are or how good you think you are. If you intend to get to that six-figure household income, you've got to be doing some impossible numbers. A $300,000 year for us would look like 15,000 transactions or 45 transactions a day. That's a lot of packages. Now, I'm not saying we couldn't do it, but if you're selling 45 items every day, that means you're doing 45 listings minimally every day. That's a lot of work. Now you're talking about getting into that area where you're doing more than a standard 8-hour day. Again, you're probably better off in private industry to hit those numbers. So that's my 2 cents on everything that's going on in the reselling world. And, I hope that if you are in a position where maybe you aren't living a debt-free lifestyle, that is a great opportunity to work on and get things in line, because it will make the rest of the life easier as a reseller. So throw in the comment section there what your thoughts are on living debt free, the eBay increase in processing fees, and anything else that's on your mind. Like and subscribe. You guys have a great day.